Hey everyone! Welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today I'm going to be talking about how change comes when you take advantage of the global village. My guest this week is Angela Busheska, and she is a student, social entrepreneur, and climate activist from North Macedonia. I got to talk with Angela about her work in climate change activism, especially as the founder of Enroute, which is an eco friendly free app that helps users to be more sustainable and reduce their carbon footprint. So, without further ado, let's get started with this episode featuring Angela Busheska.
So my name is Angela. I'm currently a junior in electrical engineering here in the US, Lafayette College. But I would just a brief introduction about myself is I am an international student coming from a small country called North Macedonia, where basically it all started related to my climate activism. So I was back in high school, I would do a lot of Met Olympiads and I spend a lot of time in the capital city of our country, even though originally I am from a very small country, from a very small city in the country. And visiting this big city, I would spend a lot of time with my aunt. She was living near the city center. An interesting part about the city was the fact that it was one of the most polluted city in the world, despite having around 500,000 citizens. So seeing this every day really didn't matter at that time to me. It was just blaming the politicians on how they're not really doing anything and just going with my Met Olympiads and going with my high school and all that stuff until there came a point where I lost my aunt due to the toxic air pollution. And that was kind of a moment of realization for me that, hey, I mean, this is something that is causing ourselves to lose our family, to lose our loved ones. And that is how I got motivated to look at the climate change and look at myself a little bit differently, seeing that maybe this is the politicians connected to solve this, maybe it's the oil companies, but kind of we have an impact towards this. So why don't we start helping our people, because I lost my aunt and who knows how many aunts and uncles were lost that year. So I just wanted to start for that honor and founded a nonprofit organization called Enroute. Was started really as just an effort in a local city setting. Now 3 years after that, went on to be a global organization, having impact in more than 50 countries and having a lot of amazing opportunities to present and to meet other leaders around the world during the process. So I was really glad to see the motivation of young people to take change, but also like seeing the empowerment that happens in different communities. So I'll stop by that now and looking forward to dig more deeply.
That was a great introduction, and I would love to know more about the work that you're doing now. I first want to get started by asking you more about your experience as an international student. Can you tell me more about what made you want to study in the US and what your college life has been like so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So, honestly, one reason like that I wanted really to come to the US is the opportunity to make a change. I came into the US first time on a science fair when I was 15, and I spent just a couple of hours in New York City. The science fair was just one remote place, but then on the way back, I spent a couple of hours in New York City, and I was like, this is where change really happens. The open mindedness of people, the opportunities at a glance. So that is was really a reason why prompted me to come to the US, but also the opportunity to mix and match, especially when it comes to classes. So I am currently in electrical engineering and computer science, and I really seek to use technology for sustainability. So I have this opportunity to develop myself technically while studying also a lot of things about the environment, which helps me really to get the best of both worlds. How college life has been? This is an interesting question. So some obviously sometimes had to leave campus for a lot of activism work. Also so that has been, well, I really love obviously the work that I do. It has its own challenge to solve like problem science on a plane and do some interesting things like that. But I would say having the support that I found from a lot of people has been really crucial, because believing in you that you can be a technologist and you can be like a climate activist is something that is crucial for really a person to thrive.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me more about the activism that you're working on now. I'm sure it's difficult to balance your activism work with being a student and your studies. So I'd love to know more about what your work looks like on a day to day basis.
Personally, I kind of try to do activism on two sides. The first one is for the technology and for the innovation, where I especially looking forward to helping people transition from what has been the fast fashion to sustainable fashion, but also helping or urging companies to make that shift from what is the business as usual to what can be business. So vouching on that side, where it is for in governmental sector or in private sector, but also on the other side, as I said, coming from North Macedonia. So on a lot of these gatherings that I was so excited to attend and to be there and to share my voice, we don't see a lot of Balkan or Macedonian youth represented. So I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to be a voice for the people in my country and like voice the issues that we are seeing, but they're not in the mainstream media, just because we are a very small country that don't really doesn't have an opportunity to present these issues on a daily basis. It's just like the pollution in my capital city. We had a lake that was disappearing a couple of days. So having all these issues to be on like the UN General Assembly stage, I think is really important. So this is kind of my two stages of activism, and currently of trying to create policy proposals that will be pushed hopefully later down the road of COP and all the other gatherings that come in the fall.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I am really excited to follow along with all of this work that you're doing as well. So I have one more question for you. Lots of young people want to create change, but they may not know where to get started with that work. Do you have any advice for those people who may be listening?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I really wanted to start it. As I said, in high school when I was starting this, I was really into math. I was a math Olympiad student, and I was like, well, I don't know anything about like nonprofits or organizations. All I knew was literally just solving problems and going to these competitions or like excelling in classes or research. So one thing that I would say really was helpful for the journey was just taking the leap on your community. It's really hard when you want to just scale global, and that was personally never my goal. It was just to start helping the community around and seeing a need. For example, for me was a lot of these fast fashion companies started a lot of production in my region, so it was really important to voice the issues. I would just go to school to ask people to let them know, and then create an app and then connect it with one organization. I think currently we are kind of very issued by being an overnight success and going global in like 2 months. Well, that is great if you receive that kind of growth at the beginning, but I would just say starting slowly, validating the need for something that you're doing, and then just continuing on. I am always looking forward to change kind of the life of one person, because that is kind of enough for them to change the life of the next person next to them, and just continuing on like that. It's always helpful if you can connect with role models or people that have done previously. So personally, because I come from a very small place, we didn't see a lot of change makers, but I now the world is a global village. So if you don't see in your place, because I know there are places like my country where you don't see a lot of people taking the leap to change, you can just connect with anyone around the world, ask them how they started, and especially if it's in your field, ask how to like break the courage. I know some places are more prone to change than others, but if the only way, like there is no, for me there is no failure. The only way is just go, you learn, and then you come back. That has like the process been.
I enjoyed this conversation with Angela, and I think it was really interesting to hear about her experience living in North Macedonia, as well as her concerns about the pollution in her home country. Angela's story is so international in its scope, and she's managed to reach people in so many countries through her work with the En route app. And as she mentioned, she's reached out to people from all around the world working in her field for advice and guidance about her activism work. Angela is from a very small country, but she's been able to reach a wide audience with her work, as well as continue to represent her country and bring her concerns to the international table. So, I think Angela's story is a great example of how change comes when you take advantage of the global village. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can find Angela on Instagram at Angie_Busheska to get connected with her. You can also find the En route app on Instagram at enroute_app, and you can download the app on Google Play, the Apple App Store, and more. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at bethechangepodcast. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.